What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time, we're going to be taking a look at Hannibal Rising, based off the book on the same name by Thomas Harris, who also wrote the screenplay. This film is directed by Peter Weber. Now, Hannibal Rising tells the origin story of how Hannibal Lecter became Hannibal Lecter. Okay, I'm going to try and make this review as short as I possibly can. I'm going to give you my pros and my cons about this movie and try and give it a fair shake. So, pros. I like the cast. The cast in this movie, they all do a solid work. Gaspard Ulliel, who plays young Hannibal Lecter, I can picture him growing into Anthony Hopkins. I thought he did a very good job. I thought he brought a lot of the Anthony Hopkins mannerisms, but also put his own spin on it. He's playing the younger version of Hannibal Lecter, so he's not as refined. He's a little choppy on certain things. He's still trying to find his voice as to what he is and to what he's going to become later on and when he gets older. And I thought Yuli captured that perfectly. And I also like his supporting cast. I like Gong Li as Lady Murasaki. I like the three. I like the gang of villains that Hannibal has to hunt down, because this movie is built around a revenge plot. And the revenge plot is that when Hannibal was a kid, he and his sister were taken hostages by German soldiers, and one winter it got very cold, food was very scarce, and they ended up killing and eating Hannibal's little sister Misha. So this movie is pretty much a revenge plot. Nothing all that fantastic. It's just a plot to get the ball rolling, which I'm gonna go into one of my cons when I get to it. But like I said, the overall cast in this movie is solid. I thought Peter Weber's direction was solid. I thought he did a fine job. This is a good-looking movie. Ben Davis's cinematography is really, it's very colorful, it's very lush, it's very plush. This is a good-looking movie from a technical standpoint. Now we go on to the negatives. The negatives I have this movie is that the story is nothing really there. This is just a basic revenge plot movie, and at the end it becomes a damsel in distress movie when the villains kidnap Lady Murasaki, and Hannibal has to go rescue her, while also finishing off his revenge quest. So Hannibal, the best thing when it comes to Hannibal Lecter as a character, it's the less you know is what makes him interesting, and the more his backstory gets filled in, the less interesting he becomes. Like, getting snippets here and there, just enough for the person, just enough for like the viewer or the audience member to stitch together his origin, is what a character like Hannibal Lecter needs. When you actually do a full-length origin for him, you kind of demystify him in a way. And I'm not really a big fan of the fact that this movie turned Hannibal into a vigilante in a way, who's on a quest for revenge. To me, that's not what the character of Hannibal Lecter is all about. Hannibal Lecter he's calculating, he's manipulative, and Gaspard Ulliel, captures that perfectly in a lot of good scenes. He captures that manipulative nature of one Hannibal Lecter in a lot of good scenes, and can be very creepy at times. And there are times where you can swear you're watching a young Anthony Hopkins on screen. That's just how good of a performance he's putting on. But the story is really weak. Though I praise the cast, a lot of the subplots don't really go nowhere. Like, there's this forced love story between it's understated, but it doesn't really work for me, and I don't know why the relationship between Lady Murasaki and Hannibal Lecter as a romance just doesn't click. It just doesn't work. Like, I don't picture Hannibal Lecter as the romantic type. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to Lecter and Clarice, there was more there. There was this understated respect between the two. Like, Hannibal Lecter had a love for Clarice, but he never flat out said it. And it was always implied. In this movie, it's rough around the edges as to what's going on there, since Lady Murasaki is also his aunt, because she married Hannibal's uncle. So that's just an extra layer of why you doing this for. So yeah, not only that, this movie, compared to the other movies in the franchise, this movie's a little bit more explicit with its violence. Now, The Silence of the Lambs, people call it a very violent movie, but we only see the aftermath of a lot of things with Silence of the Lambs. Not only that, we only see Hannibal Lecter get violent in that scene where he escapes the jail cell. That's the only time we ever see Hannibal Lecter ever go full on violence in that movie. The same thing goes for Hannibal, for the movie Hannibal itself. We never really see Hannibal Lecter do any heinous acts. We always see the aftermath of it all, or the implication of it. This movie flat out shows you what Hannibal Lecter is capable of, and again, to me, that demystifies him a lot because I like to have my imagination work instead of seeing Hannibal do these things because it's not how I envisioned one Hannibal Lecter would go after his prey when he goes in for the kill. That's just me. Not only that, this movie does a lot of forcible homages. Like there's a samurai mask that looks just like the mask he wears in Silence of the Lambs, and you didn't really have to force that in there. It didn't work for me at all. But there are some natural homages. Like there's this one, like Lecter's drawing and his penchant for drawing, his penchant for being very, very refined and very, very respectable. You know, there's a piece of music that plays that is straight out of Silence of the Lambs after he kills the two guards in the jail cell. So it has good homages and it has forced homages all at once. So yeah. But yeah, overall, those are really my thoughts on Hannibal Rising. At the end of the day, I'm going to give this movie a 6.5 out of 10. The cast is solid, the direction is solid, the cinematography is great, the story is very, very weak, the characters, they're all okay. You know, unlike some movies, this movie actually tries to tell a story, and it's actually competently made. So, and that's where the 6.5 comes in. It's competently made. It's not a mess of a movie. It just has a very weak story to it, and it demystifies Hannibal Lecter somewhat by really expanding upon his origin story. For me, that is. So yes, Hannibal Rising gets a 6.5 out of 10 for me. I think it's overall okay. Do I recommend it? If you're a fan of the series, why not? And if you've never seen it before, it's worth watching at least once. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Hannibal Rising. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like this video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.